In the face of the pandemic and the resulting lockdowns, gaming has risen to record-level highs. With people stuck inside their homes, most have resorted to video games for leisure and recreation. Nonetheless, even prior to the pandemic, video games have always been seen as a source of enjoyment and relaxation, as an escape from the stresses of life. However, behind this curtain of fun lies a worrying evil that preys on the passion of those who create the video games we enjoy and hold so near and dear to our hearts. Despite being at the forefront of entertainment and enjoyment, the video game industry bears many wrongs and transgressions, most especially to those who create the games themselves. From cyclical layoffs and lack of job security to poor work environments and gender discrimination, video game developers are subject to these unfortunate conditions, and this is made much worse by the business model that most mainstream games are now adopting: the microtransaction model. Video games in mainstream culture, such as Fortnite, Valorant, and League of Legends, just to name a few, have all found convenience in this business model. The common theme that binds these popular games together is their price to play. Nothing. These games are entirely free to play and enjoy. But then, how do companies earn money from these games? Well, aside from sponsors and investors, this is where the microtransaction model comes in. Once a person starts playing, supplementary in-game content can be purchased. By allowing the player to enjoy the game and the overall experience for free, it becomes easier to entice them to pay for the additional content. Yet that doesn't necessarily imply that this model is limited to free-to-play games only. Some paid games also make use of this model for additional revenue. Some have even transitioned completely to rely on the model for income. However, at the cost of convenience, game developers are being worked for hours on end to constantly supply fresh content and to meet the demands of the player base. This often leads to a practice popularly termed among video game developers, crunch, wherein people work overtime and around the clock with no compensation pay for the extra hours whatsoever, and, whether it may be their intention or the company's, have no regard for their own personal health, often leading to ailments and disease. Moreover, aside from crunch, workers are also routinely laid off once a game has finished development, sometimes with no warning nor severance at all, just to help the company cut employment costs. In response, several measures have been taken by employees, such as lawsuits and protests. But these issues continue to plague the industry to this day, and it is because the law allows it to happen. Or, at the very least, the law does not make it otherwise. Despite having labor laws that supposedly protect employees from abusive employers, the penalties these laws impose on the employer company is meager at best, sometimes non-existent at all. Most remedies for labor law violations involve a simple notice posting wherein the employers at fault are required to post a notice of their infractions and violations on company grounds, visible for every employee. There's no monetary penalty whatsoever, which allows the company to continue their exploitation and abuse with no repercussions. This maltreatment of workers is nothing new in the industry of gaming. In the interest of profit, the welfare of video game developers is being set aside and even outright neglected. This is just the beginning of a dangerous trend that may continue to go rampant. If this continues unchecked and no intervention is made, this could possibly lead to the deterioration, if not self-destruction, of the industry itself. Video game developers have already demonstrated walkouts in retaliation from the conditions they're put in, and some have left the industry entirely, possibly discouraging aspiring game developers from pursuing the career path altogether. Although it has been an extremely viable and popular option for multiple video game companies, the microtransaction model still has its drawbacks and, whether directly or indirectly, leeches on the passion of those creative workers. Because of this, some more thought needs to be put and further discussion had on the long-term viability of the model and how workers are being treated in the industry.